Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pat Flynn Show. I am your host, Pat Flynn, and I'm coming in for a quick live stream to answer some of your fitness questions. And this morning, I had a Q&A session with people on my email list. It was a really good session. So every now and then, I just set aside a block of time to just answer questions via email that subscribers send in. And there were some really good ones. And a couple people requested that if I could, that I expand on some of these on the podcast where the format is allows for that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do. I have 3 questions. One is on workouts that you can kind of fall back on when you've lost momentum. What do I recommend for that? A series of questions on what my sort of daily routine is like, fitness and otherwise. And then I forget what the third one is, but we'll find out here soon. If you have any questions, however, post them in the comments. And in the meantime, say hello. Let me know how all of you are doing. Few announcements before we jump to the questions. Actually, two announcements. First, my little green book, How to Be Better at Almost Everything, is in a very cool way has been selected to be Amazon's deal of the month, or at least one of their deals of the month, which means the entire book is just $4. It's $4. That's it, even for the hardcover, which is crazy. I don't know how I could possibly make money off of that. I'm probably not. I probably won't get a royalty check this month. That just seems ridiculous. But it's $4 for the hardcover. And if you go to Amazon and look for it, if they're still in stock, you can get that. Or otherwise, you can get the Kindle for $4. And this, of course, is my little generalist manifesto. And it's got a lot of fitness stuff in here, but it's not just a fitness book. It's got some philosophy stuff in here and logic, but it's not just a philosophy and logic book. It's got a lot of business stuff in here, but it's not just a business book. It's a book for people who want to be expert generalists, and it's $4. So please check it out on Amazon. Secondly, I want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor at Inverted Gear. So if you need some kettlebells, you need some clubs, you need some maces, and you like what we're doing and you want to upgrade your selection, please check out invertedgear.com/discount/PatFlynn15. That link gets you 15% off everything. Kettlebells, clubs, maces, you name it. And it supports the show. It's a great company, high quality stuff, family owned. So it's a win-win. Appreciate you guys. So please check them out. All right, let's tend to the questions. If you guys have any live questions you want me to do, if we have time, we will do that. You know where to put them in the chat box, wherever that is. Real quick, Jay Johnson says, thanks for the content. Super dope. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Next question says, will that email list video be posted? Sounds interesting. You'll have to explain what you mean. And then maybe I can help you. Anthony says hello. Hello, Anthony. How are you? All right, let's get to the questions. Let's not waste time. All right, so the first question comes from Eric. And Eric wrote, this is actually a series of questions, but I thought that they would be fun to explore. Eric says, I see lots of your long form interviews on YouTube, and I love those. It gives you the time to get so many details across and solve many problems and share interesting stories and history. In addition to that, I'd like to see just a few vlogs where you give insight into things you haven't shown or discussed. All right, so here's where the questions come in. First one, what's your writing setup and setting like? Okay, so we'll take these bit by bit. So my writing setup and setting is very basic. It's right upstairs in our sunroom. It's a simple desk, a simple wooden desk, and I have a simple wooden chair, and that's it. And every morning I do my sort of brief morning ritual, which includes coffee, and I get to work. So, writing is the majority of what I do, and it's the hardest work I do intellectually. So it's always the work I want to do first. So before I do really anything else with my day, before I work out, before I practice my guitar, even before I do a lot of the research for whatever I'm writing, I always try to spend 2 to 3 hours just writing at my little wooden desk in the morning before I do anything else. So that's my setting. It's very basic for me. One of the keys to good writing, I got this from Stephen King. He says you need to shut the door. And by that, he means you need as minimal distractions as possible. Now, as a parent, one of the primary distractions, of course, are children, and they're really hard to ignore because they're so cute. But my wife is, she stay at home, she homeschools, so she keeps them occupied. So that is what my setup and setting looks like. It's very underwhelming. It's very basic. Not very exciting, but I think that's the way to do it if you're going to be serious about writing. Next question is, when do you write, and do you do any mental prep first? Well, like I said, I write typically first thing in the morning. As for mental prep, I do a few things. I may take, some like brief exercise, like a light mobility routine in the morning. But in terms of intellectual prep, I tend to like to read just a little bit before I write. So I'll read just, maybe a chapter of something, of somebody who inspires me, just to get inspired, just to get a certain tone in my ear. I think that's actually a tip I got from a writer called William Zinser. He says, always just read a little bit of the people that inspire you before you go and write. Just a little bit, not too much, because you want to get to writing, but a couple pages, maybe a chapter. So that's what I do. I always read a little bit right before I get to my writing, but it's just a little bit. Like this morning, I read a little bit of a chapter of Mortimer J. Adler, and that was what I needed. Then I'll do some writing. So often the first thing I'll write is my email list, email to my subscribers, and that's because that's sort of fun. It's easy writing. It gets me warmed up, gets the fingers going. So that's my prep. Okay. Next question is switching from fitness to writing. Do you meal prep, or do you just cook for each meal that you don't eat out? So I eat out actually a fair amount. But my first meal of the day, typically when I break a fast, is just a protein shake. So today it was about 40 to 50 grams of whey protein, almond milk, almond butter. I'm crazy on the almonds. A little bit of strawberry, and that's it. So that was the first meal I had. Lunch is often something like a healthy salad or something my wife makes for me. My wife is, of course, wonderfully helpful. So this advice might be lame, but I guess, find an awesome wife. That helps. And then dinner is whatever the wife cooks. But Christine, we're on the same page with all the fitness and health stuff. So she cooks really healthy, right? So all of our meals focus on lean protein, lots of colorful vegetables, complex carbs, healthy fats. We don't have meals that are highly processed, no hyper palatable food. We're not throwing crap in the microwave. It's also great because she loves to cook, so she enjoys it. So I'm sort of spoiled in that sense, in the fact that, like, I don't have to meal prep, and I don't have to worry about eating healthy because my wife loves making healthy meals and feeding me. So I guess that's just a sort of like structural advantage that I have of being married to such an awesome woman. But that's just what it is. And I'm just going to tell you how you want to know that's what it is. I don't do meal prep. I just don't do it because I don't have to. But yeah, if I eat out, there's a couple places around, like sometimes if I'm just super busy, or my wife is caught up off doing something, I will, I'll just grab something healthy quick. A couple places around here. I mean, Chipotle is not bad, right? Like there's a Chipotle around. You can always get a nice like bowl of vegetables with some meat and rice. And I think that's always a nice option. Okay, next question is, I know you said you use intermittent fasting, but do you do extended fasts? Not recently. Not doing a lot of extended fasts recently. By extended fast, I assume that you mean like 24 hours or longer. And I haven't done extended fasting in some time. Most of my fasts are between 12 to 15-ish hours, somewhere in that range, which is not that intense, which is not that long. So I'm often breaking my fast anywhere between like 10 and noon. 10 and noon is when I'm breaking my fast. And but I fast pretty frequently. So even though I don't do a lot of extended fasts, I do a lot of I fast more or less every day, just to different extents. So some days it might be a longer fast. Like it might be, my first meal might not be until noon. Other days I might eat, after my workout at like 9 or something like that. So that's the answer to that question. My life is boring. Like if you get down into the details of my life, it's quite monotonous and it's quite boring. But that's actually something that I try to press upon people. Because if you're going to be productive, if you're going to get stuff done, it's really just about understanding what the basics are and doing them consistently as well as you can. which means that a sort of productive schedule will be a schedule with a lot of routine, a lot of monotony. And that's what mine is. My routine has a lot of monotony. It's a lot of the same stuff day in, day out. It's not crazy. It's not exotic. It's just doing the drills, right? Running the scales, that sort of thing, right? But that's what works. All right, next question from Eric in his wonderful series here is, what do your go-to workouts look like when you're on vacation or traveling for business? All right, so when I'm on vacation or traveling for business, my go-to workouts are hill sprints and push-ups always. So I love sprinting. If I can find a good hill, that's kind of like I always scan around, right? When I'm in a different area, like where's a good hill? Because I always prefer hill sprints. And there's just a lot you can do with a good hill in your own body weight. So that's my go-to. I like, if I can get outside, preferably I will do hill sprints and some body weight exercises in between. It's efficient, gives you pretty much everything you could want. Sprint up a hill, do 10 push-ups, walk back down, sprint up a hill, do 10 body weight squats, walk back down. You can alternate like that. So that's my, when I don't have any workout go-to, when I don't have any equipment go-to routine. And for me, when I travel, I never travel for long periods of time. So, I can be kind of loose with my routines. Like it's, I kind of just do what seems fun at the time. The important thing is that I or you always do something. And the other nice thing about trying to find a place to run is it gives you an excuse to kind of go out and explore wherever you may be. So that's my go-to: hill sprints and some calisthenics for my traveling workouts. All right. Next question here from Eric. Eric's got about 2 more here. Actually, 1 more. What does your diet look like when traveling? My diet. So first off, I don't travel all that much. I have to travel to speak every now and then, or to do some workshops and stuff like that. But I'm not a very frequent traveler. I don't like to travel. Part of the reason I don't like to travel is because it breaks up my routine, and I don't like my routine getting broken up because I'm less productive. So it's become increasingly difficult, as in like expensive, for whoever wants me to travel to get me to travel. I don't like it. Not because I don't like seeing places. I'm just such a creature of habit and routine. Plus I just like where I live. I'm a homebody. So yeah, no, my diet when I travel is fasting, man. I mean, if you're going to do an extended fast, I think trying to bank or rely on healthy food, like, anywhere is just never a good idea. So either pack or prep your own meals, bring protein powders. That's what I do. So like little protein packets are always good. Or just fast, so when I'm like, travel days for me are good days to just do an extended fast, or just bring some protein powders and just do it that way. When I travel, we often drive because my family typically comes along. So that means we just can pack meals. My wife will make a bunch of healthy meals and we'll do that as well. So yeah, because otherwise, I mean, you're just going to be stuck at just, places like McDonald's or Panera. And that's, I mean, yeah, you can make healthier choices at places like those, but why tempt yourself, right? Why even put yourself in the position if you don't have to? All right, let me get through a few more of these questions that came in through email, and then we'll jam on whatever you guys want to send in the chat box here. Thanks for tuning in. This is fun so far. Okay, next question comes from Frank. Frank says, I've been banged up from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu classes the last few weeks, and I was looking to pull together some tonic style workouts, just punching the clock and getting things moving, strengthened before diving back into something more strenuous. I was thinking of jumping rope as a warm-up, then the humane burpee, followed by the rite of passage, but a banged up right shoulder and left knee have put a stop to that. Maybe light Turkish get-ups, followed by original strength and mobility work for a few weeks would be the way to go. Okay, so I think, and I'm sure Jim will agree, and Jim, good old Dr. Jim, who we know and love, right? Pretty serious jiu-jitsu player, right? The get-ups, the pull-ups are going to be a really, and the groundwork, the original strength groundwork, are going to be a really nice complement to the jiu-jitsu training. So the key for any sort of training to complement martial arts is to realize that you should always get your conditioning from your martial art, which you will, right? Like, you're going to get your conditioning to roll from actually rolling. So don't try and replace conditioning with kettlebell stuff or barbell stuff, right? Get your conditioning from your martial art. And then what you want to do is you want to kind of identify where your gaps are in relation to your martial art. Like where are you weak? Maybe it's grip. Maybe it's maybe it is mobility or strength or something. And then you should kind of always kind of like tailor what you're doing in the gym to try and fill the most obvious gaps in your performance with your martial art. Now, I think it's sort of like a general catch-all approach, something that focuses on something like a rite of passage with original strength is a really smart move, right? Because the get-ups are going to give you a lot of you're going to get a lot of juice from the get-up squeeze for something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? You're going to get the upper body strength, you're going to get the lower body strength and the hip mobility, all the bridging from the get-ups, all the weird angles and bridging from the get-ups is just like perfect for Jiu-Jitsu, right? It's like, it really is perfect, right? Like I'm constantly rolling in Jiu-Jitsu and like, I'm like, oh, I'm in a get up right now, right? And I'm strong in that position, which often gives me a really good advantage. Now, if you have some hip or shoulder or knee issues, then just modify the get up. I think people often forget that the get up can be easily modified. You can do partial get ups, half get ups. You can just omit certain parts of the get up and still get most of the benefit from the get up, even if you take out a step or two. So I would do that. So I would just have a day of swings and get-ups, or maybe even 2 days of swings and get-ups, and kind of vary how you do it. And then maybe a day of pull-ups and original strength to supplement your jiu-jitsu practice. I think that's going to cover most, if not all, of your bases there. Good, Frank, sir. All right, last question from email, and then we'll jam on whatever you guys want to send in. This one comes from Paul. He says, hope you're doing well, gentle sir. Do you have any go-to routines when you feel you have lost momentum with training? I'm armed with some single kettlebells, 24, 20, 16, 12. My plan is to buy 28 kilograms shortly, maybe another 16, etc. He loves the Great Destroyer, and he would appreciate some words of wisdom. Well, let me say this first. Loss of momentum, it happens to all of us. Right? Nobody is 100% on fire, excited to train all the time. Nobody. If somebody ever tells you that, they're not being honest, right? We all go through waves in life. And it's a perfectly natural thing where, sometimes we just feel more amped up than other times. And, part of this might just be external life factors, the stresses of work, family life, whatever. So the first thing I want to say is, don't get discouraged when you feel like you're losing a bit of momentum. All progress comes in waves. The key, the secret is to keep the general direction. That's the key. Keep the general trajectory. Don't let the recessions become a depression. I think that's the key. Recessions are natural in momentum and progress. They're normal. They're going to happen, but you have to have the mindset to never let a recession become a depression. Right? Never let it be an opportunity to just give up altogether. This is why we always focus on the mindset. Always something is better than all or nothing. If you're in the all or nothing mindset, then when you kind of hit these slumps, you'll just quit, and then you'll get out of the habit, right? So the key is build the habit, build the consistency. And the truth is, when it comes to, any lifelong pursuit, anything that you're trying to get better at, where you're constantly putting effort out, you're going to have some days that are phenomenal. You're going to have some weeks that are phenomenal. You might even, if you're so lucky, have a couple months that are phenomenal. But you're also going to have some days that are terrible, some weeks that are terrible. And if you're so unlucky, you'll have some months that are terrible. And then you're going to have a whole lot in between. That's most of it, right? Most of it's in between. Not the best, but also not the worst. So be grateful when the good periods come. Take advantage of those. But also just, don't get too down or disappointed when when there's a lag, when there's a little setback, as we call it. So that's just a mindset thing. That's just a normal, natural thing to be aware of. Now, as for what workouts to do when you feel like you're losing momentum, here's what I recommend. I always recommend having a sort of floor and ceiling approach to your training. And the ceiling is like the ideal, right? This would be my perfect routine, my perfect workout. If I could do it, awesome, great. But always, so like, or another way to think about it is have kind of like a plan A and a plan B. Plan A, this is what I have that I would preferably really like to get done for my workout today. But plan B is exactly that. Hey, things didn't work out today. My cat died. That's very sad. That's very sad, right? But I can still go for a walk, something like that, right? So the idea of sort of a plan B or a floor is something that has such a low barrier to entry that you can do it even, dare I say, even when your cat dies, right? Like there's obviously going to be some exceptions where you're not going to do it, right? But even on like really bad, terrible days, you don't get a lot of sleep, your energy is low, you're very stressed. I can at least do this. And there's a couple routines that I would recommend for this. The Great Destroyer is not one of them. That is a really intense, tough kettlebell complex. It's actually like psychologically intimidating. So the idea is like lower the intimidation factor. And intimidation factors, there's many, right? There's time investment in a workout. Long workouts are more intimidating than short workouts. There's also intensity, like really tough workouts, obviously more intimidating than less tough. Same with weight, stuff like that. So just, take these barriers of entry down, lower the intimidation. So something like the humane burpee, as mentioned earlier, is a really good thing. For me, it's just like swing and push-up ladders. I can always do swing and push-up ladders, and they always benefit you. And I know I always feel good after I do them, right? I've got kettlebells all around my house, and hey, it's a busy day. Things got out of hand. I'm not going to get to the gym. I'm not going to be able to do the ideal routine, but I can at least spend 15 minutes doing swings and push-ups. And that's going to be my always something rather than all or nothing. So I also call these back pocket routines, like routines to keep in your back pockets that when things don't line up, you can always at least do this. So Dan John's humane burpee, basic swing and push-up ladders. I would even throw in just like stuff like walking. If nothing else, you can always go for a walk, right? Brisk walking. Interval running is another big thing for me. If life happens and I don't get to the gym, then I'll just go outside and I'll walk, jog, sprint, walk, jog, sprint, maybe throw in a few push-ups, just move. So that's what I would recommend is give yourself, when it comes to targets, give yourself a range. This again, I think is an important sort of goal setting exercise, right? If your measure of success is just one little dot and it's like really, really high, and if you miss it, you're going to like feel really bad about yourself and you're going to start getting all depressed and woe is me. And then you're going to want to quit. But if your target is a range, then it's kind of hard to fail, right? And it's like, yeah, like there's ideals. And if I hit that, awesome. But if I just fall within that range and I stay above the ceiling, then I'm successful. And that's such a big psychological change because then now you're winning. And that's worthy of celebration. And that keeps you going and it keeps the habit building. So when it comes to targets, workout targets, writing targets, business targets, don't just have one specific goal that's really high. I think it is good to aim high and it's good to have high targets, but it should be part of a range where even if you don't quite hit the ideal, you can still say I succeeded, even as long as you kind of were above the floor, if that makes sense. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's helpful to all of you. All right, let's take one or two questions here from the chat box. See what you guys got. I have some cool stuff coming up this week. We've got Dan John tomorrow at 9 a.m. for our usual live stream and Q&A. And I forget what else. Anyway, let's do some questions here. All right, here we go. Arnob says, I do squat kettlebell thrusters, which is a kettlebell squat to an overhead explosive press every day with 80-pound kettlebell. This is the first workout I do with 5 reps on each side. Then I do clean and jerk with the same kettlebell, 5 reps on each side. Most of the times I don't do a warm-up. Sometimes I do a warm-up, jumping rope for 3 minutes. Question, is warm-up required even for lifting 80-pound kettlebells? My workout then is on the heavy bag and shadow boxing. Yeah, man, I would definitely warm up before you start throwing around an 80-pound kettlebell. I mean, an 80-pound kettlebell is not, it's not like a warm-up weight. I mean, that's something you can jack yourself up with, even though you haven't, thankfully. Let me give you my quick minimalist warm-up because I understand wanting to be efficient, but I think it is wise to do warm-ups. What I recommend for warm-up is this. Here's my minimalist warm-up routine. Do a couple minutes of very light, maybe even unweighted Turkish get-ups. Do a few sets of dead hangs and do a couple minutes of jumping rope. And it sounds like you already have the jumping rope thing. So that's kind of like your global warm-up. Warm-ups to just get the whole body turned on. They mobilize you in the right places. They get you stable in the right places. So some combination of light get-ups or crawling. Crawling is another good one. Jumping rope and hanging. So you have your general warm-up. Then I also recommend that you have a specific warm-up. And your specific warm-up is just a couple light sets of whatever you're specifically doing that day. So if you have thrusters on the menu, then just do a couple light thrusters. And that's going to be like a really quick diagnostic. If like something doesn't feel right, things are a little tight, maybe I need to spend a little bit more attention loosening my shoulders. It's going to give you a quick flag if something's not quite on. And trust me, you want to know that like in a warm-up rather than a workout. Because if you learn that in a workout, it might be too late. So yeah, you have your general warm-up, then you have your specific warm-up. The specific warm-up is where you do just a couple light sets, just 2 to 3 of whatever's on the menu that day. So if it's front squats, and just do a couple light goblet squats. If it's overhead pressing, just do a couple light overhead presses. Maybe some overhead carries are good. Maybe some halos if you want to. It's not super specific, but it still helps. And just a couple light sets is all you need. And so all said and done, I think you could have pretty much all your warm-up bases covered in about 10 to 15 minutes, both general and specific. And you're going to have like good quality movement practice in there as well. You're still going to be burning calories. You're still going to be practicing movement patterns and getting more efficient at them. So that's what I recommend. And then you say my workout then is on the heavy bag and shadow boxing. Good. Then you'll be ready to hit the bag. So yeah, I do recommend warm-ups. I mean, it's I have a kind of interesting history with warm-ups because my bare knuckle boxing coach for years was like totally against warm-ups. Now he was also frequently injured, and he would just say, kind of in a snarky way, "How you going to get warmed up when you get punched in the face?" And I go, yeah, that's true, but most of the time we're not getting punched in the face. And if we can do some things to just prep our body for intense exercise in a prudent way to avoid unnecessary injury, that seems to me like a smart thing to do. So that's what I recommend. Cool. All right. Let's do one more here from Anthony. He says, did you introduce kettlebell training to your kids? How you started it, or how did you start it, and what age would you start with? Yes, I have. In fact, my 2 older children, they work out every single day. They have a workout assignment, and they're doing some basic kettlebell stuff. Mostly like real basic, like deadlifts, a little bit of swings, but mostly they're doing bodyweight exercises. So Roan is he just turned 8. Mira fairly recently turned 6, to give you an idea of their age. And every day they're doing their workout. They have their workout assignments. It's just part of their daily chores, building that habit. And for the most part, they actually quite enjoy it. It's a good activity they can do together. And sometimes they do it with me too. I don't always work out with them, but I help them and I teach them and I coach them. So lots of push-ups, lots of squats. Yeah, some basic lifting with the kettlebells. For the most part, they're just doing deadlifts right now. They're not doing like snatches or anything like that. It's just unnecessary. And then they are training Jiu Jitsu with me. So the 2 olders, Ron and Mira, are rolling big time. So it's great, man. I like if you can get your kids into working out and training with you, just do it. Just stick with the basics. Teach them the basic skills: push-ups, planks, squats, lunges. Do a lot of sprinting, play, right? So when it comes with the kids, we do a lot of play in between sets, and it is good because like when I work out with my kids, it's always fun. It's always fun. We're doing sets. We actually had the ab wheel out the other day, so they got to try the ab wheel for the first time, and then we're kind of wrestling in between sets. And and I think that's sort of a lost art, right? Not every workout has to be like super rigid, right? Sometimes it can and I think should be playful. So, we kind of set targets for ourselves. So a workout that I did with the kids recently is we did sets of push-ups, sets of ab wheel, and then we did a little sprint kind of around our street. We're not really on a cul-de-sac, but there's a cul-de-sac at the end of the street. So we had to run down there, sprint around. And we just did that for so many rounds, practice some of our jiu-jitsu moves between sets. Had an awesome time. It was a beautiful day. And yeah, it was great. So Yeah, I introduced them. Isla, she's 4, so she's going to be getting into the mix here soon. We're going to be teaching her how to lift those weights. I mean, she already is. She's already kind of like hopping in with the push-ups and the planks and stuff like that. But, a lot of times she's just kind of like messing around, which is fun. Just, all activity. So no, I'm a big fan of all that. My policy of my kids is kids are smart. They're not idiots. Start them as early as you can. The way I think about it is like how I wish I would have started so much earlier on everything, on so many different skills, right? Not just fitness, but nutrition. We teach our kids a lot about, the importance of eating healthy. So obviously we feed them healthy because they eat with us, but really trying to get them to understand why the healthy eating matters, right? And of course, kids, um, haven't had all the life experiences or suffered all the negative consequences of unhealthy eating, but we do our best to not make it seem arbitrary, right? And we're not like crazy Puritans either. We have fun, we have celebrations, we have treats, we have pizza night, all that. But otherwise, a very, very healthy, balanced diet, getting them to understand the importance of that, getting them into habits. We push our kids pretty hard academically and in other skills, not just martial arts, but music, stuff like that from a young age. Kids aren't dumb, right? They're kids are smart, and you push them appropriately. A lot of good I've found comes out of that. So good question. Okay, let's see here. We'll take one or two more. All right. Khan Lade, if I'm pronouncing that right, says, I want to move towards a minimalist type program with just a trap bar and a few kettlebells. I primarily do extensions and Romanian deadlifts to keep the low back healthy. Can kettlebell swings adequately target the low back? Yes. Yeah. Kettlebell swings do target the low back. It's part of the posterior chain. So, overall, obviously the RDLs are going to be great when done right. Awesome low back strengthening exercise. What the kettlebell swing is going to do is the kettlebell swing is going to be on the sort of other end of the force velocity spectrum. So it's a really nice complement to the grinding hinges. So yeah, for me, that's a both and. And a kettlebell swing, you are hinging, right? So the low back is and should be involved. Like people say, well, I did swings and I felt it in my back. And I'll say, like, that's good. It shouldn't have hurt your back, but you should feel it in your back. Now, hopefully, obviously we're using a ton of power from the entire posterior chain, the hamstrings, the glutes, but your low back is involved in that. So, when you start doing kettlebell swings, you should be feeling it in your low back. Now, feeling it versus injuring yourself is a big difference. And we all know when we've crossed that line. So feeling it is good. Swings in a proper hinge do target the low back. Absolutely. All right, one more. Lucas says, I'm doing a lot of clean and press lately. Any tips to preserve my shoulders intact? A couple friends have issues with their shoulders and it sounds terrifying. Thank you for answering. Yeah, I mean, first off, just like make sure that you have the clearance, right? Can you easily get your bicep next to or even slightly behind the ear? Right? Do you have good, adequate shoulder mobility to begin with? Like if you have poor shoulder mobility, overhead mobility, and you start doing a lot of presses, you're just asking for trouble. So make sure you have the clearance. Make sure you got the stuff to work with before you start doing a lot of clean and presses. If not, then you need to free that up, right? Like, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but I can easily get my arm and both right back there. I've got quite good shoulder mobility, but that's also because I work on it, right? So that's step number one, right? Can you do the shoulder mobility test, right? So here's another common one. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can link my arms fully behind my back, right? And to my mind, if you're going to do a lot of overhead work, you need to make sure that you've got the mobility and the stability first, right? I think that's the major worry is people suddenly start going into a lot of this overhead work, but they've just kind of like been this for years over a computer, and they're stuck, right? They really can't get into that position. They don't have access to that healthy normal range of motion. They start forcing it, and then bad things start happening. So you just need to make sure that the sort of foundations are there first. Next, I would say just be careful what we mean by a lot. I think about 3 days a week of pressing is probably plenty for most people, even 2 days a week, more often for most people. But if you're like want to be kind of pushy and aggressive with it, I think 3 days of pressing. And what I would recommend is to have one day where you really focus on just low rep, heavy sets, like accumulation sets. So maybe you put like 15 to 30 minutes on the clock and you just do sets of 2, 3, maybe 5, but you go heavy, high quality, lots of rest in between. You have one day that's more hypertrophy focused. So, sets of like 8 to 15 reps. Maybe you do like 3 to 4 sets and you use still like a heavy weight, but heavy relative to that rep range, right? And then you have another day that's more power and speed focused. So things like push press or even jerk. And that might be something that you do on the minute every minute for like 10 to 20 minutes. Again, probably pretty low rep for something like that, 3 to 5 reps. So you have your kind of grinding strength day, you have your hypertrophy day, and you have your power day. And as long as you have the, you're doing other supplementary shoulder work to make sure your shoulders are healthy in general, I think that's going to be a good plan for you to keep your shoulders healthy and make sustainable, intelligent progress. I see Anthony says that he uses a club bell on off days to preserve the shoulders. Yeah, I mean, just lots of halos. Clubs are really good. Windmills are good. Get-ups are good. These are all nice exercises just to make sure that you you improve and keep good shoulder mobility and stability. So halos are I mean, if you wonder why I can do this, right? It's because I do a lot of halos, windmills, stuff like that. And you don't have to have like that good of shoulder mobility. Mine is sometimes a little, I guess, freakish, but it needs to be good enough. If you don't have, if you can't at least get your bicep next to your ear, like easily, then we've got, I think, a concern that needs to be addressed before we start doing a lot of overhead pressing. So yeah. Cool. All right, guys, this is, we're going to wrap it up there. Lots of good questions. Just want to do a quick Monday stream for all y'all. Stay tuned because tomorrow at 9 a.m. we'll be live with Dan John doing more Q&A as always. And yeah, don't forget, got the book on sale. My little green book on sale for just $4 over at Amazon. Again, I'm still trying to figure out the economics of this because the hardcover is pretty nice. If you guys had this, like, this is a nicely produced book. The publisher, I think, did a nice job. So $4, and it's super green, really vibrant on the bookshelf. If you pick it up, I'd obviously appreciate it. But I think this book, honestly. Now, again, I wrote the book, so I'm going to be the last person to say anything like too bad about it. But I think this book is a good holiday gift. Like, this is something that you could really give to somebody. Like, I think you would like this book. So maybe you want to consider it for that if you already have a copy. Either way, I appreciate all of you. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, please do so, especially on YouTube and iTunes as well. Don't forget the old iTunes option. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you. Goodbye.